All right, it's 5:30. This is the regular meeting, City of Harbor Springs, Michigan Planning Commission. Today is Thursday, December 19th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. local time. Jeff, would you give us a roll call?
Rick Tarczynski.
Here.
Vanessa Warren.
Here.
Bob Thoma. Here. Tony Johnson.
Here.
Bill Mulder.
Here.
Mark Bidet.
Here.
Barry Leskard.
Here.
Michael Behrman.
Here.
We have one missing. We have a call.
Emily Dubay is missing tonight.
Yes.
Sorry to say. All right. Let's talk about minutes. We have two sets of minutes to take a look at tonight. The first is the minutes for Thursday, November 21st. Anybody have any comments or corrections on those minutes? All right, how about a motion to approve those?
I move to approve those.
Wait, we got Emily, she's on Zoom, she raised her hand.
Oh,
Emily. Hi, Emily. Emily, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just noticed on both sets of minutes that Karen Offield's name was spelled with, it's an I-N instead of an E-N. So that was my only correction.
It is I-N.
what was it spelled?
In both sets of minutes, like anytime she spoke, it was spelled K-A-R-E-N.
That's where
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed
You're
to be
right, yep.
Kerin.
A-R-N.
Thank you, Emily.
My adult brain.
All right, with those corrections, do we still have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Those minutes are approved. The other minutes we have are Thursday, December 5th, 2020. Any corrections or additions? Karen's name is spelled. All right, with that correction, do we have a motion?
I move to approve these minutes.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Those minutes are approved. All right, next thing on the agenda is public comment. And this is the part where people get to let us know what's on your mind regarding a topic that's not on the agenda tonight. So do we have any comments? Yes, we do.
Hello, everybody. First, thanks to you who are departing the Planning Commission for your time the last few years as members. Because I know some of you are in attendance right now, and congratulations to some of the new members who have just been newly appointed.
Could you introduce yourself?
Pardon me?
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Karen Charlotte Donnelly, 644 Ann Street. Thank you. So I'm speaking in support of the accomplishments of the Planning Commission to date and compliment Bill's leadership and willingness to work with those who opposed Ordinance 439. My first career out of grad school was with Herman Miller Office Furniture, and I had the opportunity to work with the founder's sons. A mantra of the company shared with employees was civility and how we work with each other and our customers. Civility means formal politeness and courtesy in behavior or speech. Be nice to everyone and showing regard for others by being polite. That company was a privilege to work for, and I personally have hung on to the mantra and how I play and I work. As I look back in the past 7 months, there were very few examples of civility in our community. There were nasty and cruel comments made about individuals who were working hard to make living in Harbor Springs good for all, meaning young families, commercial businesses, affordable housing, for those who wanted to work here so they could afford to live here, and employees looking for workers because they couldn't find them because they couldn't afford to live here. and families, so that families can also take care of older relatives in a cost-effective way. The negativity towards some of these changes resulted in the ordinance being overturned. But now we have a chance to make it right again for all. Lead up to the vote to keep or rescind 439 was one of the ugliest periods I've ever witnessed in my 30 years of being a full-time resident of Harbor Springs. Our reputation as a nice community and a great place to raise a family has been challenged. Neighboring towns asked what has happened to Harbor Springs. Some of those who opposed 439 included people who don't vote here or even pay taxes, but their opinions were listened to and welcomed. Having said that, now we have the opportunity to return the culture which brought us to live here. That is being civil and kind in how we treat each other. I love Harbor Springs and feel fortunate to live here. We must assume that those presenting ideas want the good for all, not just for their own personal needs. That includes those on the Planning Commission, but also the city staff who work so hard in support of the PC efforts. We need to show appreciation for how they have worked and the hours expended. We also need to show appreciation for our city staff. We are fortunate to have the talent that we have with Victor, Jeff, Nick, and the entire team. A schedule of meetings to create the new zoning ordinance has been set up with input from all parties. We're starting with a clean slate, and it's 100% up to each of us to decide how we want to approach this, provide ideas and suggestions in a kind and respectful way. We should not assume that people on this side are a bunch of bad people or people on the other side are a bunch of bad people. We all want the same thing, to assure that Harbor Springs community be one where all people, full-time, part-time, younger, older, families, singles, in-city residents, and outlying community residents can all thrive together. I believe inside each of us, there is that ability to forgive and move forward in a constructive way. I encourage each one of us to reach across the aisle and shake the hand of somebody you don't know and express support and kindness for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm looking for the ma'am. Linda Rockwitz, 519 East 3rd Street. This Wednesday, I had coffee with Carter Williams and Karen Offield. Now, the only significance this has is that they're leaders in the We Love Harbor Springs organization, and I chaired the Vote No organization. So it was a step, and our conversation bounced around lots and lots of topics. Did I? This is yeah. Okay, so I like to hear myself. You know, so and it was informative. It was interesting, and we found several places where we had agreement. And the number one was communication. You all did your job with communication wonderful. People didn't pay attention. Well, now they're paying attention. And I would like to propose, after the new year, when we get started, a communication blitz. I just asked Jeff how many properties there are in Harbor Springs, and it was like 1,143. I don't know if he was really just telling me. Anyway, we should have 1,143 people signed up to get the newsletter, to get the, all the information that is there, all the meetings. So I hope we can do that. And, I would volunteer in whatever capacity you'd like. So good time ahead.
Thank you, Linda. All right, any other comments? All right, let's get into the agenda then. First thing on the agenda is a public hearing for a special land use for 397 East Main Street. And Jeff, do you want to set this up for us?
Yeah, and do you want to go into the public hearing right away,
Why don't
or?
you set the stage for us? Tell us what the goal is tonight.
Yeah. So we have the new property owners for 397 East Main Street, which is the property on the corner, it's on the northwest corner of Main Street and Judd. Previously, it was a retail store on the first floor with single family living on the second floor. The code that we're now under does permit, through special land use, that if a property owner demonstrates that their building was originally built as a single family home, that in the central business district, they can apply for special land use to return that property to a single family home. So we have a request for that. And there's information in here showing how they will return that property back to a single family home. One thing that they did show on the request is the installation of a small shed so that they have some outdoor storage. They currently don't have anything like that at this time. With the return of the property to single family use, it does bring in some setbacks that they then have to be concerned about. We can't approve the use of that shed or the installation of that shed as it would be non-compliant with zoning code setback regulations. If they would like to pursue that shed, they would need to go to the zoning board of appeals and request a variance.
Okay, so the only thing we're being asked tonight is to consider special land use approval to return the home to full residential use first and second floor.
Right, and that would be single family use for the entire structure, not separate
Got it.
uses on each, right?
And that will last forever?
Special land uses runs with the property in perpetuity, so that would be forever,
Okay, so future owners would have the same
correct?
capability.
And the applicants aren't here at the audience, but I believe that they are available on Zoom to answer some questions for us.
Great, yeah. Why don't we go to them first and see if there's anything they'd like to tell us?
That's Molly Keegan and
Molly Keegan, if you would like to unmute yourself and describe the application, thanks.
Hi, I am here with my husband Jeff Piercy. And we recently bought the Judd House, which was built by Charles Judd in 1892. And his son lived there for 99 years and is the namesake of Judd Hill. I don't know what the heck he did on Judd Hill, but maybe it was tobogganing or something. And we just think that, it's across from the Shea House and from the Blackbird House. And, it'd be nice for it to maintain its heritage as the Judd House. Previously, it did have a gift shop, but it had been shuttered for 4 years. It's not really in, the heart of the retail area. So I don't think it, did very well being, kind of at the tail end of the CBD. So do you have any questions?
What are your intentions with the house? Is this to be a full-time residence or just a part-time residence at this time?
Our goal with the house is for it to be our residence in the future. Right now, the upstairs, we do have the upstairs set up for rental purposes until such time as, if it all becomes residential. In our case, we currently live out past Pond Hill Farm on a 6% grade. We can't get anybody to plow our road. So we always have to find alternative lodging in the winter. And at our age, 70 and 80, we anticipate moving into town where it will be more manageable. So that's our plan for the space.
It also has this is Jeff speaking. We also have a ramp on the backside of the house. And I will need that in the future. I'll have both knees replaced and also my ankle, and I can see in the future. Right now I'm great, but down the line, this ramp in this house would be advantageous for us to move into. So,
and possibly even have caregivers, with us at some point. So that's our plan.
My question is about parking. Was there parking there before? Were there a couple of parking spots on the east side? And then
There's
how does-
seven parking spots on the property.
Well, so do they keep those or do they have to convert it somehow?
Not to my knowledge.
They can keep it?
They can keep it.
yes, and that will also cut down on if it is residential, there won't be there'll be more parking on the street as well, because there won't be any need for that.
Yeah, and so in our plan, we were gonna take up one of the parking spots for a shed. You know, for our trash cans and hoses and whatnot.
And Jeff, why is the history of the home important or germane?
That's the way that the special land use in the zoning code is directed. It's to provide an opportunity for properties that were originally built as or for structures that were originally built as single family homes to return to that use, but not open it up so much that all properties within the central business district could convert to residential use on the first floor.
If the house was sold again, that special land use lives in perpetuity, understand that. Could a future property owner there convert that first floor then back to a retail business? Because it is in the CBD? Yes.
Yes, this does not preclude them from returning to commercial use. They could certainly do that in the future. And there's language in there stating that that reversion back to commercial use, they would have to abide by the rules in the zoning code at that time.
I have a question for the owners. You have 7 parking spots that are part of this property, correct? Is that what you
Yes.
just said? Are any of those parking spots being leased to anybody else at this point in time?
No,
No, and it's actually 3 of the spots are consisted on the wide driveway.
Right.
They'll probably not even be used by anybody.
Yeah, those are the ones that would give us most pause probably, because then you're backing out into traffic. Those are spots 1, 2, and 3 on your site plan.
right, unless you went forward and did a turnaround. That whole area back there is shared with 1, 2, 3 residential houses and then 1 parking spot back in the back, not part of the 7, but they
Right.
share that same access. It belongs to another commercial / residential property. But the others are residential around it that share that square in the back there.
Yes, I see that.
I think I can also add that the property directly to the west of this property on Main Street came in probably about 8 or 9 years ago with a similar request. And we did grant them special land use to revert that building back to a single family home.
Any other questions from the planning commission? Why don't we open up to the public? Do we need a vote to do that or?
Yeah, this is a public hearing, so
Okay. So we need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Do we need a roll call?
I think we can do it all in favor.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right. Public hearing is open on this request. Anyone in the room or online care to comment?
Kathy Montiel, 560 Sergeant Street. I just need some clarification. So the request is to make a special change to take this from commercial to residential. Then there will be a request for a shed on the property. Correct? Am I understanding that correctly? And then, but the shed couldn't be requested if it were commercial property, only if it's residential property? I just need to understand that.
I think it'd be best if I clarify. So within the central business district, a commercial use property, the setbacks, they're allowed to build lot line to lot line. So there are no setbacks. However, for this use, it specifies that if they return it to single family use, that there would be setbacks on the property. And that bases the setbacks on the B1 district, I believe. So if they get approval to revert this back to single family, they will then have some setbacks that they will have to be mindful of. So then if they would like to bring in and place that shed like they would like to, they'll need to go to, because of the location that they've indicated, they'll need to go to the zoning board of appeals to get a variance request to be allowed to put that shed in. And that would be something that they would do there. at the
Thank you.
ZBA.
Anybody else in the room have any comments or questions? Or yes?
Hi, sorry. Danny Roder, 480 East Main, and I just wanted to say that, so we bought our house from Molly. 480 East Main used to be owned by Molly before she moved out of town. And we'd love to have her back on Main Street. In fact, we'd love to have anyone back on Main Street in the winter. So if we have like full-time folks who want to come and join us on Main Street in the winter, it'd be great to have Molly and Jeff back. So nice to see you, Molly, and hope to see you soon on Main Street.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom?
Pam Torchinsky, 465 State Street. This house is a beauty. It very much exemplifies the spirit, character of Harbor Springs. This property is what everyone has been saying, let's keep Harbor Harbor. This property keeps it. So however it goes with the decision about a shed for them, we do hope that the architect that helps them out also designs a very special shed for them that helps keep Harbor Harbor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? All right, how about a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, public hearing is closed. Back to the planning commission now. What do you all think?
Yeah. What, right now it's zoned a commercial building, correct? For main level and living upstairs. Would it not work for them to build their shed first because they don't have the setbacks? And then what would happen if they converted to residential at that point? Would that not be an easier way to go about this than for us to approve residential and then have them have to go to the ZBA for another approval?
That's a good question, and I don't know that I have an answer for you right now.
Sounds like you're not in the spirit of.
I don't think, yeah, I think Vanessa makes a good point. I don't think that that's in the spirit of how things are. I think the other thought would be that if they're putting in a shed and it's for residential purpose, that would be residential use on the first floor, which the code currently doesn't permit without that special land use.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's something that could be done or not. I would have to, I'd have to confer with somebody and kind of get some further opinions on that to know what could happen there. But
Thank you.
but we do have a review of this by John Ecoangeli. And in his review, he did note that as a concern that would need to be addressed, so. And he may have some further thoughts for his review.
Very good. Why don't we go over to John and see if there's anything he'd like to add?
No, the staff review is based on the current code. And their specific section 50 period 1202 section 8 has the 4 criteria to evaluate this type of a project. They satisfy all, with the exception that the proposed shed is going to be located within one of the setbacks. So you recommended that if the planning commission were to approve it, they would approve with the condition that the applicant needs to seek a variance before the zoning board of appeals for the location of the shed on that site. And I think it's appropriate that we go through that level of procedure. because I think would be fair to the property owner, to the west, that they be involved in, at least get notification, so they can see what the shed's going to do and if it's gonna have any adverse impact on their property. So, but I laid out the motions for you in the staff review, depending on if you want to approve with condition or deny.
Thank you, John. Tony.
I note in our packet there is support from residents, including the property directly to the west, from what I can see, for support of the conversion back to residential. So they've done their homework, and that is good to see that there is neighbor support. And that, of course, doesn't include the conversation on the shed.
Let me just take the temperature. Michael, what are you thinking on this one?
I feel that it's a very reasonable request for this special land use permit. It's consistent with what's been done close by. There seems to be neighbor support. I haven't heard anyone speaking against it. However, I do feel that the proposed shed needs to go before ZBA for a variance request.
Mark?
I feel pretty much the same. I do have a question though, Jeff. None of the site plans show setback requirements for the residential use. Is that something that we should, is there any reason to look at that or think about that? Maybe in the future, this property is going to be zoned back to something different again?
Yeah, when they'll have to kind of amend their site plan to show those setbacks when they bring it to the zoning board of appeals. So we certainly will see the setbacks and to show how much of that shed may or may not comply with the zoning code at that
The
time.
shed and also the existing house, the
Right.
existing structure.
Yeah.
So as long as that's going to come out and it's undocumented somewhere, that's my own concern. Otherwise, I'm in support of it. Seems to be a very reasonable request, and it is fitting with the neighborhood. It's residential in that area pretty much.
Barry?
I mean, I agree. I do feel like it's a shame to get rid of a commercial business that's in town, but it hasn't been used in years, and it's where it's located at. It really wouldn't make a huge impact if it was converted back to residential, so I'm definitely on board with that conversion and the option that's there in the future if somebody does decide to go commercial after. So I'm definitely for that. As far as the setback, I agree that we need to have it go through the proper channels for that.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, support, it is the historic district's historic house. It should be a residential house. I have no issue.
Bob?
Yeah, I think it's fine. If in the future somebody wants to reverse, then they can. In the meantime, let's do away with it and clean it up.
Rick?
It goes along with our master plan and what we tried to do with 439, trying to get more residential in the city. I'm for it. I'd like to commend them for buying an older house and keeping it that way and not tearing it down and throwing it into the dumpster. I really commend them because it is an important house, and I think they'll probably hear from other local historians that are interested in preserving Harbor Springs the way it was. My only concern about the shed is on the drawings we have, it shows an incursion on the next door neighbor's property a little bit in one corner. I assume these are not accurate, but I do believe that's something that belongs to the ZBA.
Okay, and Vanessa?
I support.
Okay. And I do too. And I have the motion in front of me. I'm gonna make this motion. I'll read it just the way John wrote it, so that we get it just right. I move that the planning commission approve the request for a special land use to convert 397 East Main Street back to a residential house because it complies with the standards in section 50.1202, number 8. that the proposed shed is not consistent with side yard setbacks and therefore is not part of the special land use approval. The applicant has the right to apply to the zoning board of appeals for a variance if they can substantiate hardship. There's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote.
We start with Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Barry Lustgarten,
Yes.
Mark Today,
Yes.
Bill Mulder,
Yes.
Tony Johnson,
Yes.
Bob Feldman.
Yes.
Vanessa Warren,
Yes.
Rick Tartinski.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, next thing on the agenda is a request from Cross Village Township. And they have reached out to us to ask for our support in form of a letter to the Michigan Rural Readiness something for a grant to begin to write a master plan for Cross Village Township. And the way that this thing goes, they explained, is that they need support from various community organizations and nearby governments and that kind of thing. So it's a bit of a formality. It doesn't cost anything in terms of money or effort or time or resources. It's just a expression of support for our neighbors in Cross Village Township. They're looking to form their a planning commission for the first time and to go ahead and write a master plan. And so they've asked us if we would support them. And so the request to the planning commission is whether or not you approve Rick and I signing this letter of support that would help them get a grant. We've been reaching out to nearby planning commissions, and Rick and Tony and I had coffee with a group again about a month ago or so. And we had Cross Village Township, we had West Traverse, we had Little Traverse, we had Friendship, and we had Redmond Township, all represented. The only ones that we couldn't bring out were Pleasant View Township.
And the tribe.
And we had, representation from the planning commission at the tribe. It's really great. So we are trying to build some connections to our neighbors. They said again, they're working on and thinking about the same kinds of things that we are. So there's just a ton of commonality in the area as you'd expect. So anyway, the main point is planning commission, will you support us sending the enclosed letter to the
Office of Rural Prosperity.
Office of Rural Prosperity? Who wouldn't be in favor of rural prosperity? Any thoughts, any questions, any comments?
It could possibly be wrong.
What's that?
I said, what could possibly be wrong from this end? Do you see anything out?
No, I really don't.
That's
I
all.
really don't.
Yeah.
I would wholeheartedly support.
Yeah, we should help them.
Well, I lived in Cross Village for 10 years, starting 30-some years ago. And I'm actually living there temporarily right now.
Okay.
So not much happens up in Cross Village this time of year. So I think, but the planning, they talk about doing planning 30-some years ago. And so they haven't moved very far. So if this helps them get down the road a bit, I'm all for it.
Okay. Any public ideas on this?
You have a hand up on Zoom.
Great.
Linda?
Yeah, hi, it's Linda. I'm the chair of the Cross Village Planning Commission. So I stand ready to answer any questions. I joined you on Zoom because I was afraid to drive in with a clipper coming in.
We also have Sophia on Zoom.
Good evening.
Oh,
Are you able to hear me all right?
Perfect.
yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having this through Zoom. It's wonderful to be able to tune in. I used to be on the Planning Commission for Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I have some questions. If you can just review what it is that they're looking to do. What is that letter actually requesting?
The letter is in support of Cross Village receiving a grant from the Michigan Office of Rural Prosperity to begin development of a master plan.
And what do they define as rural prosperity? What does that actually mean?
I don't think there's a particular dollar amount or anything. Linda, would you like to jump in? You're the one pursuing this grant? Oh, that's it. Linda, are you still with us?
Yeah, she needed her stuff.
I was on mute. So, yeah. So the Office of Rural Prosperity is the only formal Michigan entity in the state that actually provides grant funding for planning. So this grant would be in support of the Cross Village Planning Commission, and it would provide us things like operating costs, and it would provide us with help with meeting costs, and it would also allow us to make reproductions. Like when you're making a master plan and there are 150 pages, you need to make several copies for people to review. And then you need to make those revisions, and then you need to review again. And that copying, those copying costs do add up. So as you know, Cross Village is a very small township and they don't have an appropriation for planning commissions. In fact, I'd be interested to see how Harbor Springs Planning Commission is funded and how you managed to get an appropriation. I'd like to discuss that sometime. But so our application for this grant is with the understanding that we will be working together with other entities in the community, one of them being Michigan State University Extension, because they provide training in planning commissions. Another would be working with the tribe, because the Little Traverse Bay Band has plenty of property in Cross Village, and they have a serious interest in land use and ecology and environmental issues in Cross Village Township. And then we would like to reach out and start to work with the Tip of the Mitt Watershed Council and other entities. So this grant, some of the provisions are the fact that we do collaborate and work with other entities in the Tip of the Mitt in our planning process, which is, as Mr. Mulder has cited, is just starting out. We've got an 18-month horizon ahead of us. And so we welcome anyone to come participate in our meetings. We're getting up a webpage where you will be able to see when the dates of those meetings are, and we welcome your input and your participation.
Thank you, Linda. I have some more questions. Where is the grant coming from?
The Michigan Office of Rural Prosperity.
Okay. And I'm not familiar. I've been out of the Planning Commission space probably, I would say maybe 8 years. So what, is that like a government funded? Is it privately funded? Is it NGO? Can you tell me a little bit about them?
It's the state of Michigan.
Okay.
It's the state of Michigan's Office of Rural Prosperity. And as I stated, it is probably one of the only entities that provides grant funding for planning purposes.
Got it.
So, yeah. So the thing is that, you know, we're looking to plan, you know, very carefully with plenty of input from all of the stakeholders in our township. And part of that is the fact that Harbor Springs is also a stakeholder in the M119 road heritage route commission is also a stakeholder. The tribe is a stakeholder. So this is just asking for support from a stakeholder. And as Mr. Mulder explained, you know, we are vested in working with our various partners in the Tip of the Mitt.
Thank you, Linda. I really appreciate the answer and the patience to help me understand and pick up where you guys are at right now. I commend you for trying to include everyone and especially the stakeholders that have so much to benefit from proper planning. Thank you very much.
Sure, anytime.
All right. Thanks all, and back to the room, any last comments, and turn it over to the planning commission? What's your feeling on this one, planning commissioner? I see heads nodding yes.
Yeah.
All right, good. We have a motion then to.
So moved. Make a motion that we support them in any way we can.
Really, the motion just to sign this letter.
Sign it.
No money, no time, no.
Make a motion that you sign the letter and send it.
Great. We have a motion. Is there a second? Mark Boudet seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, we'll sign the letter.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Linda. All right, last thing on the agenda tonight is the discussion about identifying zoning code aspects for review during our rewrite process next year. And so finally, we get to begin identifying those issues and getting them on paper. And over the holidays, I'm going to make up a worksheet for us so that we can all follow along item by item as we talk about these things and reevaluate them and see if we want to change things or add things or whatever. So we're not here tonight to discuss the merits of anything, just to identify the aspects that we ought to examine next year. Got a number of letters already, but I thought just for a change, we'd open it up to the planning commission first. You guys rarely get to say anything, and it seems like we ought to. So do you have any zoning aspects that you'd like to nominate to reevaluate during the rewrite process? Oh, thank you.
I'd like to see the height of buildings on Main Street come back down to 40 feet.
Okay, building height.
No penthouses, no elevator shafts, no nothing.
Okay.
You say
Go
that
ahead and say what you want. Don't tell us what you want, just tell us.
Okay. I'd like to see the height of
Don't
downtown
reveal.
buildings revisit.
Building height in CBD is what I've just captured.
So I had put a list together for our last meeting and forgot to bring that list with me today, but I'm going from memory. Building heights in CBD was one item that I would like to reevaluate. I think we should also reevaluate the definition of the CBD area. And triplexes, I think, is something we should discuss as well. Well, we don't want to get into specifics, so I think triplexes might be an item for discussion.
Where they'd be located and how they'd be approved.
More on the how they're approved side of things, yes.
ADUs,
What about them? How they're approved?
yes.
All right, let's go to the audience and see if we can get some thoughts there. I've gotten a letter from, did I get a letter from you?
Yeah, but I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, bring it out, Marta.
Mark, why don't you just sit down?
Oh, I really like this. Yeah, I think. I think you guys all got.
Could you introduce yourself?
Pardon?
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, excuse me, Mark Rondell, 181 Zoll Street. It's really easy to forget that, isn't it? I think you all got my letter with a few specifics of what I'd like to see you consider over the next 2 weeks. But I'd like to make just a few more general comments tonight. In order not to end up with the same result as the last attempt to revise the zoning code, this time I would like to see us address the primary stated objections to the previous new code Those objections were that the new code did not adequately reflect the true feeling of the citizens of the city. And the proof of that was in the rejection of the new code by the voters on November 5th. This time, I would like to see a much more rigorous support of the proposed changes by discovering and validating the fundamental desires of the community. The most important consideration here is that the findings cannot be of the same subjective nature as last time. Changes cannot simply be opinions or recommendations put forward by members of the commission. They need to be substantiated by public input. And most importantly, they need to be objectively quantified. I would suggest that the easiest and most accurate way to do that is through targeted online surveys with paired questions. Maybe John can speak to this system of survey that generate very specific and quantifiable answers. These surveys would be universally accessible, would be relatively easy to conduct, and could be done weekly or even more frequently. I would like to illustrate this using the example of affordable housing. A question could be asked: should the city of Harbor Springs create more affordable housing? Or should the city create more unaffordable housing? The obvious and universally accepted third option, I like Harbor Springs just the way it is, therefore let's not change, is not an option. I like Harbor as a community. We need to acknowledge that we are not going to be able to stop change. The city will either, under the newly reinstated old code, continue down the path of increasingly unaffordable housing, or we can do an about face and change the code to meaningfully increase affordable housing options. I am very skeptical of the proposed town hall format. I have participated in hundreds, if not thousands, of such activities, including this meeting right here and right now, that have ended up as nothing more than subjective gripe sessions. If you choose to gather input by that format, I strongly encourage you to devise mechanisms to objectify and quantify that input. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Can I give this to you?
All right. Anybody from the audience care to suggest aspects of the zoning that we ought to reevaluate?
Hi, I'm Lisa Morris at 7997 South Lake Shore Drive, outside in the West Travis Township area. So I'm one of your neighbors, not in the city. There's three things I would like you to consider as you're rewriting your zone planning. First of all, you need to have a definition for historic because you currently don't have one in your current plan. Okay, is it 30 years, 40 years, 50 years? You know, you guys discuss it, but have a definition for what historic is. Okay, then for each one of your zoning areas, there needs to be a paragraph that addresses the historic aspects, how to preserve the historic nature of that particular zoning area. Okay, Bill, you have a question? You got quizzical looking at me.
No, I'm trying to capture the essence of it.
Okay, now it may turn out that all your paragraphs for the individual zoning areas say the same thing. So then obviously, you know, consolidate, just create one.
Okay.
Okay, within those paragraphs, you need to identify, like Mr. Rondell said, how you're going to enable that or objectify that paragraph. There's two ways you can do that. You can do it with incentives or carrots, or you can do it with penalties or sticks. Okay, hopefully you will have more carrots than sticks. Okay, so think incentives like tax breaks, public recognition, those type of things, we don't need to go into the details now. Penalties are, higher costs for a demolition permit if it's a historic home. Okay, just to encourage people to think about preservation and to be mindful of it in their planning. Okay. So those three things: definition of historic, paragraph for each zoning area, and then how you're going to enable it. Incentives or penalties or carrots and sticks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You got it? Any other nominations? Well, there have been a few that have come in by way of letter, and I'll read you what I picked up from various letters. And
We have online if you want.
we do.
Zoom, yeah.
Yep, who's that?
Sophia.
Sophia, please go ahead.
Thank you. As we go through this zone, the whole planning process.
Sophia, can you state your address? So for the record.
Sure, 230 Artesian Way.
Okay, thanks.
Are there going to be subsequent meetings where we continue to discuss this? Because this is a week before Christmas. Very few people are able to attend at this time, and it's also difficult through Zoom to do this. For those of us that are on Zoom, it would be great to be able to chat on the chat. And also when you are going to mute or unmute, so opening it up to Zoom or closing it to the Zoom, to let us know what's going on or intended, because if someone raises their hand and it's already too late, we don't know that you're going to unmute us or mute us. So it'd be helpful to have a more interactive ability to engage, each other. It'd be great.
Agreed. We aren't even beginning to discuss the meat of this thing. This is just to identify the aspects that we should consider during the rewrite process next year. We're gonna have 2 meetings in January, 2 in February, and 2 in March. And that's where the real work will get done. In the meantime, there's gonna be a public communication plan, and we're gonna come up with a good way to get a lot of public input. And yep, we'd love to see you on Zoom, or love to see you in the room here.
Thank you. And with that, I would also recommend that timing be thoughtful of the time of year, because January, February, March is typically when everybody goes south. So that's a great time to not do something or make large decisions that would not be capturing the public's opinion.
Okay, thank you. All right, here are the other things that I picked up from correspondence and such. Number of zoning districts, the boundaries of those zoning districts, the possibility or idea of mixed use. Again, where where residences and businesses could coexist. Maximum building height in business districts, definition of building height. And moving over to the residential category, the minimum lot size, minimum lot width, alternative lot configurations, minimum and possibly a maximum dwelling size, maximum building height for homes and what counts, front yard setback methodology, side yard setbacks, approval process for all types of uses, plan for more and larger multiple residences, i.e. Apartments. Consider the possibility of including something about affordable housing, perhaps in the planned unit development language. And then refine the definition of home occupations with and without employees, and then what types of approvals could be required for that. So that pretty much picks up what I've heard tonight, other than the historic aspect. And we'll have to figure out how that would possibly go into zoning code. And I've got a lot more to learn about that one. Okay. So we have a start, that the list is not closed, and people can continue to nominate or come up with ideas and communicate those to Jeff Grimm, our zoning administrator, by email. And then we can add things to the list early next year as well. Okay, that's good. We got to start. Now we know what we're going to talk about. All right. And that was the last thing on the agenda. But I would like to thank our outgoing members tonight. And that includes Rick Tarczynski, Bob Thoma, and Emily Dubay. Thank you. Appreciate your service. I know it's been glamorous and rewarding. We'll continue. So yeah, thank you so much. And then we have 3 new members coming in at our January 9th meeting, where we'll welcome them, get them sworn in, and get an orientation. And we have 2 of them here with us tonight, Chip Everest and Bob Buckner. So,
Just so you know, Bob, I had brown hair when I started this. It was brown. You still have it.
all right, planning commissioners, any new or old business or other comments? Oh, okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for putting up with me for the last 3+ years. It's been an honor to serve with you all. I've learned a lot, things I never thought of. I would also like to add one thing that I've been thinking about lately. I don't know if this would need to be a motion from the whole commission, or if Victor can do something about this. Lately, people on Zoom have been making a lot of demands of all the boards and commissions and council, including speakers, stands, owls, so that they can see people speaking here. It's great. I'm all for transparency, but I think it's a 2-way street. And I think I would like to see people on Zoom turning on their cameras so that we can see them while they speak. I think they hide behind his name or pictures of their pets and are invisible. And I think we're in a meeting that's governed by the Open Meeting Act. And I think their visual should be part of that. It's not an invasion of their privacy. They're partaking in an Open Meetings Act, and therefore I think they should be visible. If this is something we need to put forward as a motion, I would put a motion that City Council revise the Open Meeting Act that all the councils work under. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick, and we can work on some of those things, and as well as some of the suggestions we get, such as turning on chat, how people get muted and unmuted. You know, we started Zoom with no regulation. When we first started a regulation, I mean, there was no controls. It was like a free for all. Throughout the years, we decided chat is not a good function to enable it, because people in here shouldn't be chatting with each other about what's going on. People on Zoom shouldn't be chatting. It's distracting to others when planning commission meetings are talking or people are here talking. Also, there was a lot of unsavory comments that would normally be not allowed if you were in the room to say it. So you'd have to monitor that to eject those people. And yeah, there's ways to do that, but you know, how much effort do we put staff into to make it? As far as muting, we do have a process. We mute all people on attendance, and I personally unmute them as a way to control, so people do not announce their name, and then I press unmute. So we do have a method for that. Things can always be improved, but we also are this staff. You know, Zoom was meant to be an addition. It wasn't supposed to be the main way to attend a meeting. It was supposed to be, you know, I can't make a meeting once or two meetings, or I can't come this month, so I need to attend remotely. It was never intended to be purely, let me just not partake in it from being here in person, let me just stay at home, you know, all day and watch it. So it's supposed to be a convenience, but it's not supposed to be a substitute for participating here. And I would love, when we started Zoom and YouTube and all this, to make it more accessible. But I do strongly believe that we need to have some good controls on there. As far as cameras, there's been issues with that too. So Rick, I do take your point that, you know, you want people to have their video playing, but we have been Zoom bombed on videos as well with pornographic material. So it's a hard balance. Anyway, I just wanted to add that in there. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to all these things. So
Thank you.
I just wanted to say real quick that it's been a privilege and it's been a pleasure being associated with all of you. You guys too. You guys make it happen. You keep us on our toes. You're part of it as much as we are. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep. And I'll say to the board, in the annals of the Marine Corps, only 2 words are ever given for congratulations, and that is well done. That's what you've done. Well done.
Emily, do you want to say anything?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I wish I could have been there in person tonight for my last meeting. Unfortunately, I came down with a cold, but I too want to let everybody know what a wonderful time I had participating and volunteering for the past 3 years. I've learned so much. This, you know, isn't my expertise, all things municipal. And I have to say, I've learned so much from all of you, from the city, the staff, the residents, and all of you on Planning Commission. I really enjoyed spending my time with you once a month on Thursdays. And I look forward to seeing what the next Planning Commission offers. So thank you all so much.
Thanks so much. All right, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.